I think that obviously I'm not a guy with coach speak when everybody always asks me about rivalry games and that it's just another conference game. It's not. I mean, obviously this game has a great meaning in our state, and rivalry games are even more fun when both teams are playing well, which is the case. And so it's a big game early on in the SEC, and I know we're going to play a really, really talented, experienced Mississippi State team that's nationally ranked, and so it should be a great atmosphere in Humphrey Coliseum tomorrow.
Looking at that lineup and how they played, I mean, they're a pretty athletic team. We're probably one of the more athletic teams in the league. What have you seen from them from a matchup standpoint?
Obviously the experience at the guard spot, and even Carter coming off the bench. I mean, guys that's all been through a ton of games and how athletic they are. Holman, when you look at him, is one of the best stretch fours in college basketball, not just our league. I mean, he can shoot it. He may shoot it as good as anybody in the country at his spot from three. He's got great range. And so, when you start getting three guards like that in a stretch four, so now the floor is really spread. And so it's just an athletic team. Adu is very athletic as a five-man. And so, and their team, it's a big difference. Like they score 88 points at home, like 74 points on the road. So their team has really played at a high level offensively.
How much of that South Carolina game did you watch, and what was Frank kind of able to do to disrupt them?
I think I've watched it a couple times. I think South Carolina's playing really well. I think it's just kind of the beauty of the SEC that we were picked where we were picked, and South Carolina maybe, was about 500. Now they're 2-0 and we're 2-0. So I think it just shows you just league play. South Carolina played very, very well. I thought Mississippi State played extremely hard. It was just one of those hard-fought games. Could have gone either way, and they got beaten a tough one in overtime.
How well do you know Howland?
I've known Ben. We played Ben one time when I was at UCLA. When he was at UCLA and I was in Middle Tennessee. Probably about 2012, I think, that we played him. And when I was at Idaho, Ben was out west, and so I've known him for a long time. I have great respect for him as a coach and what he's done. And like I said, he's built his program, and I think he's got a real veteran team, and it's a team that can win games in the NCAA tournament.
What's your relationship like to Mississippi State now? I mean, obviously you're older, but you have such a history there. Just what's the ride been like in considering your family history and your history of
Yeah, Ben, I was just where I grew up. It's where I went to school. As a GA there, I played there. I always say I used the term playing loosely at Mississippi State, but I did. I was there. And so I have fond memories of there, but it's been a long time. I mean, I've been away from that place for a long, long time. And I probably hadn't even played in that arena since I was assistant coach at LSU for John. So it's been a long time since I've been there. The most important thing is, I love the state of Mississippi, so I'm so glad to be back in Mississippi. And all I can say is it's just absolutely found the perfect place for me is here, and I really mean that. It's no offense to Mississippi State. This is just the absolute right fit for me and our family. And but I'll get a chance to see a lot of guys that I hadn't seen in a long, long time there.
When they moved on from Rick Stansbury, was that a job you wanted at that time?
I don't ever think it was a job you wanted. I think that is it a job that you always maybe have your eye on. I was never really, I'm serious about this, I was never really looking at Middle Tennessee. But when the alma mater job comes open, I think it perks anybody's interest level. I just think that, plans are different for different people. It just worked out perfect for me. For whatever reasons, it worked out perfect to be able to come to Ole Miss.
You've talked about no one's going to want to beat them more than you. You've touched on this a number of times, but just your emotions in that game, are you going to have to kind of dial yourself back a little?
I think this is that, and I say that probably because of where I went to school. And I want everybody to really know, obviously, exactly. They always ask where's your, my dad's not going to the game. He's got out of the hospital today. He's had a little touch pneumonia, so he would love to go, but he can't. Doctors won't let him go. And everybody said, well, where will your dad be in this game? I said, guys, have y'all had children before? Where do you think his allegiance will be? He loves his school. He'll be pulling for his son, I'm probably in that particular game. But, I don't think dial it down. And I really always say this. Is it a rivalry game? And I'll talk about it to our guys in the locker room. I do. The 5 guys who played in it, they understand it. They've been in these arenas. Those other guys, KJ and Blake. Those guys have not been in it. So I'm gonna talk to them about a little bit about the history of the rivalry. But I'm really dead serious about this. Well, when it starts, it really is the same. It is the same, and it's going to be a heck of an SEC game.
It's not like the Egg Bowl where there's just one big build up to one game. I mean, y'all are going to see these guys one more time and maybe even again in the SEC tournament if stuff falls in a certain way. I mean, is it different in basketball the way you approach rivalry games and stuff like that, just in general?
Yeah, I don't know if it's I do agree with that, about it's just not just up to kind of a crescendo to one game, you know, because they're going to come back to Oxford. And then, like I said, there is a chance that you play them, you know, in the SEC tournament in Nashville. But a rivalry game is a rivalry game. And like I said, rivalry games are great when both teams are good. I mean, they're even better when it means more. And this one will mean more just because both, you know, they're nationally ranked. Our team is trying to gain national respect, and it's a big game in the SEC.
Going off of that, what do you have to do as a coach to keep the players from getting too swept up in all the off-the-court stuff and focus on more what's happening in the court?
Yeah, I just think that'll happen. You know, from yesterday morning we watched tape and the practice, and then today at 1 o'clock we've got to have great film and a mental film session that'll carry over to the game, and I think just the practice part of it. But you know what, they really won't feel it until you get in the arena. You know, like the guys, you can expect it, but when you get into that arena and they really start feeling the student body and the different things early on in the process, and that's when it really hit them more than even right now.
I mean, you mentioned the Egg Bowl. Obviously, football, the rivalry has kind of gotten a little more than just competitive a little recently. Are you worried at all that that'll spill onto the basketball court?
I don't think so. I mean, I love you know, you don't want a rivalry to get toxic. You just want it to be good. I mean, like from afar, when I was in Murfreesboro, and I was following Ole Miss and the Mississippi State when they were both really good in football, and what great it was for that state, for our state. You know, just when they were both good, getting national attention. I mean, I'm serious. I think that's great from the state of Mississippi basketball here. You know, you got one team that's ranked, another team that's playing good. It's on national TV and CBS. It's great for our state, great for our basketball state, and so I think that's the fun part of it, you know. But I followed the Egg Bowl a long time, followed this rivalry for a long time, and like I said, it's something I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
You guys are obviously off to a really good start in league play, 9 in a row, and having people starting to give you some national attention. Has it changed the way recruits are starting to respond to you?
It has a little bit. I mean, I'm telling you, and I said this, and it's a good point. I mean, the kids that watch that game on Wednesday night, you know, not only how we play, the crowd, and you know, national TV, and they saw that place. Because let me tell you, you turn on TV, and you can look at a field arena, and the field arena is kind of waiting for guys to make good plays to react. Our arena from the jump was trying to will us to win. And I think that's what separated our game atmosphere when people around me called me and says, Kermit, y'all's arena was different than these other arenas. Like that student body was trying to get you guys to play well from the start. People weren't just sitting on their hands and waiting for a guy to dunk, get up and cheer. And so that's what was cool about it. And I think that caught a lot of the people's attention around the country, you know, that saw it and texted us after the game, myself and the assistant coaches.
You talked about KJ being a developing three-point shooter.